Hi, I'm Phil Grove, and for this week's video blog, we're going to talk about how to make offers on REO, real estate owned or bank foreclosed properties. And one of my students sent in a question, and a lot of these video blogs come from questions that get sent from my students. When I get an interesting question, I like to do a little video about it. He says, I'm making some offers on some bank-owned properties, and he wants to know what sort of contingencies should I put into the contracts. And my answer might actually surprise you. The answer is nothing. When you put an offer on an REO, here's what's going to happen. The bank is simply going to look at the net price from the offer. They're just going to look at how much the offer is for, or how much I should say it nets them. And then they're going to either reject your offer outright, or they're going to counter your offer. And when they counter your offer, even if they accept your price, they're going to send you back a new contract, and it's going to be their contract. So whatever contingencies or things you put in the contract really doesn't matter. You're going to get a new contract back with whatever terms that they specify and whatever price that they will accept. And that's kind of more or less a take it or leave it deal. Now, here's the good news. Most of the time, you're actually going to get an option period, which is really the most important contingency in any contract. You want to have a period of time where you can back out of the deal if it's a deal that you don't want. And we always teach our students, look, get it under contract, then decide if you actually want it. A lot of people are intimidated to get things under contract. Get it under contract, you control it now, and can determine whether or not you want it. Usually when you make an offer with an REO, you'll get a free option period. The bank will come back and say, we'll accept your offer at this price, and you have 7 or 15 or more days to evaluate the deal. Now, during that time, you're going to get your inspections and bids done, and you're going to do your due diligence to determine if you want the deal. And what will happen is sometimes an investor, after they take a harder look at the deal, will say, this house has a $25,000 foundation problem or whatever that's more than I anticipated, so they may choose to back out of the deal. What will happen is when somebody backs out of the deal, the realtor who had the house listed for the bank will actually ask for copies of the bids and the inspection reports, and then when the next investor comes along and makes an offer on that house, they will give that investor all of those bids and all of that disclosure and all of those inspection reports, and they may even say, and you can't back out of this deal because of the foundation, for example. That's been fully disclosed. Don't worry about that. You always have other things that you can evaluate and back out of the deal with but they'll basically get more and more documentation, and sometimes I'll go into an REO deal where I'm the 6th guy to bid on that deal, and they give me this big stack of bids and evaluations, and they say, here's everything you'd ever want to know and then some about this house, trying to say, there's no reason to back out of this deal. Now, my next thing I always like to tell people about making offers on REOs, people say, well, how much should I offer? And my advice is offer as much as you can. What do I mean by that? Well, this is a property that's listed on the MLS. Most of the time when the banks want to sell an REO, they list it on the MLS. And I have to say, I'm not hot on REOs because I don't like retail deals. I don't like deals on the MLS. I don't like competition. And most of the time, these deals do have competition. And sometimes, when the lender posts a property in the MLS with a realtor, they don't tell the realtor, there's this perception that REOs are great deals. They're not necessarily good deals at all. The lender, the bank doesn't tell the realtor, sell this fast and cheap. They tell the realtor, use every trick in the book to get as much as you can possibly get for this house. And that's exactly what the realtors do. So there's no reason to believe that an REO is necessarily any better than any other deals. Now, one of the tricks that sometimes realtors do when they list an REO on the MLS is they'll take a $200,000 house and they'll list it for $75,000. And what will happen is, 30 investors will show up, and if you show up at one of these houses, there's guys walking around with tape measures and contractors and clipboards and taking pictures. And, it attracts a lot of investors because it's a smoking deal, right? A $200,000 house, maybe it needs $25,000 in work. And it's on the market for $75,000. Well, guess what? It's not going to sell for $75,000. What's going to happen is those 30 investors are all going to do their evaluation, and then 25 out of the 30 investors are all going to make a $70,000 offer. Well, they're all totally wasting their time. It was just a bait and switch. The other 5 investors are going to make real offers, and one of those is going to make the high bid and get the thing. I have bid as much as $50,000 above asking price on an REO. When somebody lists an REO, the list price to me is irrelevant. I don't care. Sometimes I bid more, sometimes I bid less. How much do I bid? I bid as much as I can where the deal makes sense. You know, typically that's 70% of the after repaired value minus the cost of repairs, plus some additional adjustments that we teach our students when we teach the Revolution training program. So that's about what I offer. And that's a fair investor offer for the deal. Now, if it's a pretty home, doesn't need a lot of renovations, you're always going to be competing with, civilian buyers who are buying these things for homesteads. You're never going to win against civilian buyers. But on the other hand, if it's an ugly home, needs a lot of work, then typically your only competition is going to be investors. We all make investor offers because hopefully we all use the same calculator, and you've got a good chance at winning the bid on one of those things. Now, that being said, don't bid too much. There's always some Yahoo new investor that didn't take my training program and doesn't know what they're doing, and they bid too much because they just really want to do that deal. They are no longer investors. They are now gamblers. And what you can say about gamblers, the bank always wins in the end. So you don't want to be a gambler, but you do want to give yourself a fair shot at winning the bid on that property by bidding as much as you can where the deal still makes sense. The saying I always have in this business is pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. It's okay to be a pig, but if you try to be a hog, you're not going to get many deals done, and you're going to get slaughtered at the end of the day. So, hey, I'm Phill Grove. Hope you enjoy this little chat on buying REOs. If you want to make any comments, we'd love to hear from you. Share your comments in our video blog, and we'll see you next time.